Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of this newsletter is going to be changing your story is life-changing. I've got actually two different emails that I'm going to go through, and the first one is from a guy who was, I guess, paralyzed in an accident in the past year. So he's obviously struggling to adjust to his new life and his new physical disabilities. And the second one is from a guy who, from what I can read here, it sounds like his woman is really into him, but she can't tell whether or not he's really into her. And so it's an interesting perspective in looking at what her self-talk is, because obviously she's fearful that the relationship is not going to work out. And so, but let's go ahead before I get into either of those emails. I got a quote I'd like to share with you. It says, changing the way you look at things will change the things you look at and focus on for the better. You get what you focus on in life. What you focus on expands. Most people have a negative story and self-image that they continually tell themselves. They therefore are always looking for the reasons why things won't work out for them. They have bad luck, people won't like them, they won't get what they want, etc. Become aware of your own internal self-talk and ask better quality questions, such as, what's good about this? How can I use this? How can I learn from this? How can this make me a better person? What can I focus on and be grateful for? And what's working in my life? So let's get into this first guy's email. He says, hey coach, I'm a fairly attractive 24-year-old and I've never really had a problem attracting women. They've always approached me and pursued me. While in the past I've been very insecure, it hurt my chances, but I've done a lot of work in that department. My biggest problem is that I was in a car accident a year and a half ago that left me paralyzed from the waist down. I'm obviously still very attracted to women and would like to date and still have sex, which I still can. I'm getting my life together and getting my own place. And he says, I had to move in with my parents after my accident. I'm going back to school, and I'm even going back to the gym. Well, that's awesome that you're focused on those things and taking care of those things. About 15 years ago, when I was one of my first companies, I worked in real estate while I was still building one of my real estate companies on the side. It was a foreclosure business, like buying, fixing, and selling general type of real estate, single-family homes, mostly sometimes duplexes. There was a guy that I worked with, and he was quadriplegic, so his hands were kind of all scrunched up like this. And what had happened to him is that I think he was in the Coast Guard at the time, and so he was out with his best friend's wife, and they were having an affair. This woman was driving, and both he and her were fucked up, and so he was laying down in the back seat of the car, basically passed out. And so she ran through a red light or a stop sign, I can't remember what it was, and then another drunk driver basically did the same thing and T-boned the car, and he slid right into the door and broke his neck basically. And so he could move his arms and everything, but his hands were kind of messed up, and problem that he had is he just didn't have enough money really to go through the physical therapy and start to get some of his range of motion back in his arms and everything. And he was pretty cool about it. He always was smiling. He had a great attitude. It was just like, fuck it, there's nothing I can do about it. What's done is done. And like I remember when he'd go look at foreclosure properties, because he was an acquisition agent, because his brother also worked at the company. And he would hop out of his wheelchair and literally crawl into these houses. Imagine these foreclosure properties. Some of them are just dirty as fuck. They're full of fleas and stuff like that. And he'd crawl around the house because it was the only way he'd get in there, because he couldn't get his wheelchair over the step to get in there. He'd take some pictures. He'd look. He'd figure out what the rehab estimate was. He'd crawl back out to the front door, hop up back in his wheelchair, pull himself up in it, hop back in his car, and he drove. He had levers underneath the steering wheel. One was for the brake, and one was for the accelerator. And I used to drive around with all the time. He was a pretty good driver. He had a knob on the wheel that he used to turn because, like I said, his hands were kind of scrunched up. And he just had a great attitude about it, and it's like once he got to a place, obviously he was pretty depressed about it for a while, but he finally got to a place where he was like, fuck it, there's nothing I can do about it. And he didn't care. It's like if he saw a girl he liked, he went after her. And he was always meeting chicks and hooking up with girls. He eventually got married, and it's like, obviously not every woman's going to want to hook up with a dude that's in a wheelchair, it's got a disability, and that's just the way it is. I mean, at the end of the day, it's strictly a numbers game. Not every woman that you go out with is going to like you, and you're going to have great sparks and great chemistry. Like, I went out, I had a date last night with a woman, a first date with her, and it just, there was no chemistry there. And it's like, you can't force it. And it was kind of difficult to talk to this woman, get her to open up and talk about things that she was passionate about. Like, she didn't laugh at my jokes. It's like she hardly smiled the whole time. She just obviously didn't seem like a very happy person. She'd gone through a very difficult time in her life this past year. But it's like, I could walk away from that situation, be pissed off that she didn't like me because I found her very attractive. But at the end of the day, chemistry's not there. You can't invent it. And besides, I got a date tonight with somebody else. So it's like, I don't fucking care. It's just, there's another bus every 15 minutes. And you got to look at it that way. Whether it's going on dates or meeting women, you got to get through the no's in order to get through the yeses. Not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's going to want to become your friend. Not everybody's going to think you're cool. Not everybody's going to get your sense of humor. And that's just the way it is. It's just really a numbers game. And somebody that you also might want to look into, he's a motivational speaker. His name is Sean Stevenson. And he's like literally about this big. And I don't think he can really move his legs. And like when he was younger, his bones were like real brittle. And so he was constantly broken like hundreds of bones over his life. And like his arms are all messed up. His tongue is so big that like when he talks, it kind of sticks out of his mouth. He's got kind of a big head. But he's always smiling. He's always laughing. And he's just a phenomenal motivational speaker. And so this guy's got even more physical disabilities than you have. And he just got married this past summer. He's got a great fucking attitude. And if you've ever seen him speak, which there are some videos of him on YouTube, and I'll actually post on this article on my website, I'll actually post a link to his website where you can go and watch some of his YouTube videos. Because if that guy can have a great attitude and not let shit get him down, you ain't got no reason to. Because in life, you can always, no matter how bad you think things are or how bad you think you've got it, there's always somebody out there that's got it worse off. I mean, look at Christopher Reeve, the actor. I mean, handsome dude, very successful actor. In a freak accident, falls off his horse and breaks his neck. And basically the only thing he can really move is like his mouth and his face. Everybody's got to feed him, clothe him, do all those things. And he passed away a few years ago, but he did a lot of tapes and CDs and talked about overcoming that kind of adversity. And it's like, just sometimes shit happens in life, and it's all how you deal with it, how you look at things. It's just like what Dr. Wayne Dyer says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And it's so true. So let's get back into his email. So he says, I don't have a vehicle at the moment, and I probably won't until I can lock down a job after school, so I know that adds to my problem. You shouldn't look at it as a problem. It's just simply a delay. Eventually, when you earn enough money and you have enough money, you'll be able to buy a car and get it retrofitted so you can obviously drive it using your hands, because if obviously you can't use your feet to work the pedals, just like my buddy did. It's just a matter of time. And you can't look at it as a problem. It's just a delay. Like when I started this business, it's like all I had ever known was success in my life. I got every fucking job I ever went after. I mean, every single job. I worked for the largest construction company in the world back in the 90s. It was Syntax Rooney. It was part of Syntax Construction Group or Syntax Homes. And it's like whenever I wanted to change a job or get a better job or start my own business, just everything always seemed to magically line up. And then when I decided to start this business, because when you go from being on TV and spending $50,000 a month in television advertising, everybody's telling you how great and how awesome you are, and they want to be like you, and you got this big company, you got all these employees working for you, and everybody's making really good money. And then you go from making nothing, and I figured, I'm pretty smart. In a year or two, I'll figure this business out, and I'll be right back to where I was. Well, it took me 4.5 years to figure out this business model. I got down to like my last $20,000 in assets after literally being a multimillionaire. And that's pretty fucking humbling. It's like when you're waiting tables. I'm sure I've shared this before on other videos, but I waited tables Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights to earn some extra money because my business wasn't earning enough to the point where I wasn't still spending more than I was actually taking in. So I had to take a shitty job at a fucking sports bar because it was the best thing I could do and still maintain my coaching practice during the day, and it fucking sucked because when I waited tables 20 years before that when I was in college, I fucking hated it. It sucked. I attended bar most of the time, but I hated it. It was like I get this bar rot stuff underneath my hands and my fingers, and it's just because you always get your hands are wet all the time, and it was frustrating. Go from making $500,000 a year, living in a $1 million lakefront house, and here I am working this fucking bullshit job, and I was sleeping on my fucking dad's couch at the time, and it sucked ass, and it was frustrating. But it's like you get to a place where you realize I can't make the business grow any faster. I'm day in and day out. I'm grinding out. I'm doing the little things that I need to do in order to become successful. Eventually, the business grew to the point where obviously things took off, and it's grown into the success that it is today. But it took a lot of fucking time to get there. And the only thing that kept me going was because I had an emotionally compelling vision for my life. I managed my own self-talk. I could get depressed and sad and upset about it and feel bad that especially people that knew me before, they're laughing at me. You're an idiot. Why don't you go get a fucking regular job and earn some real money so you can have a life and get off your dad's couch? It's like, fuck you. It's like, I don't want to do that. That would ruin my business. And to me, not doing what I'm doing now, that was like ultimate pain. That was the worst fucking thing I could think of. Because I had known nothing but success for almost 2 full decades of my life, and here I was going through this really difficult time. But it was because I had a passion for what I was doing. I believed in myself, and I believed that eventually I would figure it out. It's like I practice what I preach. I walk the talk. And that's what led me to where I am now. And that's the way you got to look at it. Maybe it takes you several years. Maybe it takes you a decade to get to where you really want to be. The idea is you got to find a way to enjoy your journey. You got to find a way to find satisfaction in your daily moments and your struggle where you're at right now, because it's like once you get to where you want to be and you have all the things that you want, you have the people in your life that you want. Obviously, in your case, you have a girlfriend in your life, you got a car that you can drive, you're finished with school, you're doing something for a living, you're going to feel pretty good. But what's really nice is when you look back, you really appreciate your struggles. And like for me, as a coach, when I look back on all the things I've been through in my life and all the challenges that I've had, it's like when I'm talking to somebody as a coach, I can really empathize and understand with where they're coming from. And that's why I love helping people so much, because I don't want people to have to suffer to the degree to which I suffered for a lot of years, whether it was in my early 20s when I really struggled with women and got into a marriage I shouldn't have gotten into, or times when I struggled in business, or I struggled with being healthy, or just finding a way to be happy. Because one of the things I learned from Tony Robbins is that when I did his Date with Destiny seminar, is he takes you through this process where you figure out what your primary question is. And all of us have this primary question that's in the back of our minds, and for most people it's not very empowering. It's like something that's constantly you ask yourself. Everything that happens in your life, you're always asking yourself this question. And for me, what I realized my primary question is why am I still not happy? It's so what I realized is that at the time was that even though I achieved all this great success, I had great relationships at that point, had a great business, had a nice $1 million house, had a very successful business, a lot of people looked up to me, I had all the material things I wanted, I hung out with people of influence, was traveling all over the world, spending my life at 5-star resorts. It's despite all that stuff, deep down I still wasn't happy. And I was just always no matter what happened in my life, why am I still not happy? Why am I still not happy? And that was going on in my head. And it's I presupposed that I wasn't happy. And it was interesting, my girlfriend that I had at the time, she basically had the same primary question, because that's actually where we met, was at a Date with Destiny seminar. And it was really so cool that it was part of one of the great things about our relationship, is that we were going through similar experiences, and we had similar backgrounds. She was very successful and always achieved everything that she achieved. But it's once you become aware of that negative self-talk and how you're measuring yourself and how you're measuring success, then you can become aware of it and catch yourself and focus on other things. One of the things that I always am trying to focus on and remind myself of is finding reasons to be grateful. Grateful for the fact that I'm back on top again, if you will, after going through so many years of struggle and difficulty and dealing with the same kind of bullshit that I dealt with when I was building my first business, my first real estate mortgage company. Because I was married at the time, and my father-in-law Now, he was very successful and well off, and he was like, you're going to file bankruptcy, you're going to lose your house, you're going to ruin your marriage, you're going to, my dad was the same way. He was just, but my dad, his mindset was having a job, working for somebody else his whole life and earning a living. I was like, I'm not you. That's not my life. That's not what I want for myself. I don't want to be you. I want to have the same life that you have. I want to build my own thing. I want to do what feels right to me. And of course, when I succeeded first time around, everybody's like, hey, you're awesome. And it's like, I think it was Will Smith said this. He said, if you're not there for my struggles, don't expect to share in my successes. Because when you're going through really difficult times, like I had a friend I talked to yesterday who he had $500 million in real estate. $500 million. And he was on food stamps up until about a year ago. He lost fucking everything. His wife left him. He doesn't get to see his kids very often. These guys former Green Beret. And he's a great guy. And he just keeps moving forward. Despite all his difficult, the past 7 years have really been difficult and challenging for him. And it's like, so we've known each other all these years, and every so often we talk on the phone, and it's like we always have a positive word for each other. We always have an uplifting thing to say for one another. It's nice to have friends like that have gone through those difficult kind of struggles, and they understand why you're doing what you do, why you struggle, but yet you still persevere anyways. So this guy says, I'm completely... let's see here. So he's not talking about his car. He says, anyway, I really need help getting my dating life together after this injury. I don't know if you can help me, but any advice on how to get anywhere now that I have this problem? Girls that used to like me before the accident have just friend-zoned me and show little interest now. Well, if you listen to what you're focusing on this as a problem. You're focusing on this, obviously, is that you're not the same man that you used to be. Obviously, physically, that's the case. You're physically limited in a lot of ways, but it really is a state of mind. And if you've been following my videos and my articles for a while, what it really boils down to is your own internal self-talk. So if you don't think, like in this particular case, obviously you don't think you deserve to have what you really want because you're really fearful that people aren't going to love and accept you for the fact that now you have a physical disability. And if you think like that and you presuppose that, you're automatically assuming that women are going to friend zone you. You're not acting like the confident guy that you once used to, that had the swagger that you mentioned that you had when you were before the accident happened. But at the end of the day, inside, you're still the same person. It's just that you need to change what it is that you're focusing on and look at what's happened to you as something to be grateful for. You've got to get to a place where you accept your physical condition, because it's like once you accept it and it becomes a part of you, it's just like, hey, I have brown hair, or my eyes are green, or I have lots of freckles, or I have big teeth, or whatever it happens to be, or I have a great smile. It's learning to love yourself and appreciate yourself and appreciate the gift of life that you have, and focus on the things that you have, and just keep moving forward. Keep asking women out, and just because if Sean Stevenson can find a woman, because imagine every time they have sex, it's like she's got to pick him up out of the wheelchair and lay him on the bed and take his clothes off and pretty much do everything. But she doesn't care. She loves him. She appreciates him. And this girl, I've seen pictures of his wife. She's beautiful. There was a guy that used to come and speak at Tony Robbins seminars for many years. He was also in his infomercials. And same thing. He had one of those he had an accident, and it really bothered him for a while. Then he finally got to the place where he's like, fuck it. This is who I am. He ended up marrying a beauty queen. And he ended up dying a few years ago from, I guess somebody mixed up his medication or whatever. But he just had the greatest positive attitude towards life. And he just didn't let shit get him down. And so at the end of the day, it's all how you look at things in life. And so you have the choice to let this define who you are, or you have the choice to look at it as something that can empower you so you can become even stronger. But you got to make an effort. At the end of the day, it's up to the guy that you see in the mirror every day. So let's get into the second email. This guy here, he writes in, I guess his girlfriend, his fiance, wrote him an email, and he's just fucking stunned at what she had to say. He says, hey coach, I've been dating this girl for close to a year with plans to get married next summer, and out of the blue, I get this email. And she says, I pretty much just wanted to ask you that we don't just stay in this relationship to save face. I mean, at any point, if you feel like you are no longer attracted to me or in love with me, I ask that you let me know, and we decide from there if it's something we can fix or just need to let go. Now think about her self-talk. She's presupposing that you don't love her and that you don't care about her. And it's either A, because she has self-esteem issues, or B, because maybe you've been being a little bit of a cold fish and not reassuring her and not showing her through your actions and telling her. She obviously feels like there's a distance between the two of you, and it's not as good as it once was. And this was what happens. You get into a relationship, you're in it for a year or more, the infatuation has worn off, and now you're back, you're kind of like in your daily routine, and that's what happens. A lot of guys get complacent. As I talk about in my book, the courtship never ends. It's something that's ongoing. So this tells me, just from what I've read so far, that you slacked off a little bit in courting your girlfriend, and she no longer feels like you care about her anymore, even though in your mind you're going to get married and you're going to get engaged to her at some point. And so she continues on, I don't want you to just be with me because you don't want to go through another divorce or want to keep a certain image. Yes, I believe in fighting for us, and I am totally willing to do it, whether it be counseling, surgery, or busting my fat butt in the gym twice a day. Well, obviously she cares about you and she loves you, and she's willing to do whatever it takes to make the relationship better. But obviously what's going on is she just doesn't feel like you are as in love with her as you once were. She says, I don't want to be working for us when you have already given up on me. So this is all about her self-talk. This is what she's believing internally. She's presupposing that you don't care about her anymore. These are her fears. And all women are insecure in some way, shape, or form, whether it's about their body or their attractiveness or their ability just to be fun and interesting. She continues on, basically what I'm asking is that we don't live in misery just because. I want both of us to be happy, and no, I'm not having second thoughts. I hope I didn't wake you. Talk to you later. And he said, and the guy that shared this, he says, I have no clue what this means. What it means, dude, is you need to get your fucking shit together, because your goddess does not feel loved by you. And before you go, I just took her on a trip a month ago. We just had sex the other night, because how typical guys want to react to something like this is using logic and reason. You got to look at it and honestly say to yourself, you're obviously no longer doing the things to court her and make her feel loved like you were in the beginning. And the reason I know that that's a fact is because look at her email. It's pretty fucking obvious. So what my response would be to her is to say, baby, I got your email. I'm really sad that you would write something like this to me, and obviously I haven't been making you feel as loved and adored and as appreciated as I have in the past, and so obviously that tells me that I've gotten kind of lazy and complacent. Maybe we both have, but I want to see you. When are you free to get together next? And let her tell you and say, great, I got a really cool place I'm going to take you to. I want you to wear that really hot, sexy dress that I like, and do things and take her someplace so she can dress up in a way that makes her feel beautiful, dress up in a way that you like her and that you care about her, and take her out. It's like, if you're still dating, you should be going out at least once or twice a week and doing something, not falling into the same routine like where she comes over to your house every week and you order pizza and then you fuck afterwards, and then she stays the night or she leaves and goes home. Obviously things have become dull and boring in your relationship, and you're not courting her like you once were. So if I were you, you need to bury your face back into my book and start applying the things that I teach about successfully courting her and getting back to that place, getting her to talk about those things. So hang out, have fun, hook up with her, make mad, passionate love, and let her know that you understand that basically your actions, the things that you're doing, are causing her to not feel as loved by you as that used to make her feel like, basically. And that's all you need to do. It's not the end of the world. I mean, she obviously just feels like you don't care about her as much, and she's become fearful that you're just staying in it, just like she said, to save face. So you need to get your shit in gear and start courting your woman properly. And you got to understand that, that's why I talk about this in my book. Every guy gets lazy, gets complacent, gets caught up, and this is what happens. So this is her reaching out to you, basically saying, hey, danger, Will Robinson. There's something wrong in our relationship, and I'm willing to work on it. I'm willing to fix it. And I think it's awesome that she reached out to you this way, because it shows that she really cares about you and she really loves you. And obviously she's fearful about things not working out, and she's fearful that you don't really care about her. So you need to think about how the things that you've been saying to her and the things that you've been doing, and not look to justify your actions, because if you go into like justifying your actions mode, all that's going to make her feel is like you didn't read this and you didn't understand it and you're not listening. And that's going to hurt her more. That's going to make her break down and cry. And it's going to make her feel like you really don't love her. So you need to show her through her actions. You need to acknowledge what she said, apologize for the fact that you've gotten lazy and complacent and haven't either been spending as much time or doting on her like you once used to do. And whatever the little things were that you used to do in the past, you need to get back to those. But you got to remember, the courtship never ends. I wrote a chapter about that particular subject in my book. So you've gotten lazy, you got complacent, so you need to get your act together, bro. But you definitely, from what I've read, it's easy enough to turn around. Just start dating her and spend more time together, and make sure you say those little sweet things to her that you used to, and you show her through your actions. You don't need to tell her, because women know. Women look at a guy's actions, and she's looking at your actions and realizing that you're not doing what you were doing in the past. And as for women, the only thing that matters is the present moment. It doesn't matter if you were the perfect boyfriend last week and you had a great week. The only thing that matters is this week, this moment in time when she wrote that. That's how what you're doing is making her feel. And you can't look at the fact and say, oh, we've been together for a year. It doesn't fucking matter. The only thing that matters is you're not doing what you once were doing in the present moment. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a paid phone coaching session. You can do that by going to my website, click the products tab at the top of your screen, and follow the instructions. And I will talk to you soon.